So guys, I got a little triggered the other day, and I don't know if Hot Take Hink is going to come out in full force, but people need to understand what is realistic when we're talking about PE and PE goals, because people clearly have no idea what the F they're talking about. So that's what this video is going to be about. We're going to be breaking down the actual data and then get more into my opinions about what is realistic goals as far as this process that we're going through. So first of all, so what does the data show? What is realistic? Well, there's an extender study. It basically shows that in about 6 months of using the extender, 4 to 6 hours per day, that you should expect about 1.2 centimeters, half an inch, maybe less than that. In 6 months, they're talking about if you use this device every day for 4 to 6 hours, half an inch. And this was another study where they looked at extenders and other data, but they basically said that I believe over the course of a year, about 2/3 of an inch was achieved in these guys as far as erect gains. Now, in that extender study, it is important because they are talking about specifically erect gains in that, where this study here that I'm going to be talking about here, they actually had 1.4 centimeters of gains, once again, right at about a half an inch of gains, using an extender for 4 to 6 hours per day in stretched flaccid length, guys. There is this misnomer that I know I contributed to at one point, but it's, oh, I think it's reasonable for you to gain an inch in a year in length and half an inch in girth. I think that that's crap. Hot take, full-blown hot take, right? I think that that's crap, and I'll tell you the rest of the reason why. So first of all, the data doesn't really support that. Now, most of these trials don't go up to a year, so we don't know if they were to continue on this pathway, what if they continue to gain? We'll get into it some more also. First of all, I just want to also define what is realistic. So this is the definition of realistic, okay? I'm going to read it off my laptop here. Having or showing a sensible and practical idea of what can be achieved or expected. So what is realistic for you to happen, not what is possible. So if you ask what is realistic, don't confuse this with what is possible. Is it possible to gain an inch in a year if you're consistent and steady? Yeah, that is possible, but that's not a realistic goal in my personal opinion. Yeah, this is just a full-blown hot take Hink video, because this is definitely against the mainstream belief and what a lot of the thought leaders are saying. You have to understand, okay, people are lazy. I said it, people are lazy. They don't have what it takes to get what needs to be done. For the love of Christ, half the people don't even have the motivation, the decency to even search the search bar for topics on our subreddit Getting Bigger. Instead of actually, let me just research. Guys, help. What is the fastest way to gain an inch? I have 5 minutes that I can contribute today, and I'm not willing to buy any devices. And actually, no, just 4 minutes. Back in my day, we had real men. I know I'm just some old man yelling at the clouds, but it's just so frustrating. Especially some of these younger generations, they want instant gratification. That's why this shit will never be mainstream. Nobody wants to work hard for it. So here's an example that I'm still very bitter about today. So I had my Hink trial, guys. For those that don't know me, I go by Hink, whatever. I'm a doctor, I run a trial. I'm very interested in men's health, and I keep this mask on for my anonymity. But in my Hink trial, I personally selected, I put up a post on Getting Bigger, and I said, hey guys, who wants to participate? And all of these guys wrote me. Some people actually went through a fairly challenging process of actually sending me a DM on Reddit and saying, here's why I think I would be a perfect candidate for this trial. After reading that and seeing that they were dedicated, I said, I select you. And not only did I select, so I selected about 15 guys, but it had very strict criteria in order to make sure people completed the trial. But so they had to put some money up front. And guys, guess how many people actually completed the trial? At about 3 months, half of them had quit. Completely just off the radar, just not responding to messages. And at the end of just a 6-month trial, guys, there was 2 guys that actually completed the trial. And both of those guys showed pretty, impressive gains. I'm going to report that at some point. I know you guys are anxious to see it. But it's so frustrating to me. Even in this setting where people are so motivated, Hink, please choose me, I'll do it. When I offered my personal time, my personal coaching, and 2 out of 15 guys completed it. But I'm thinking about doing a Hink trial part 2, using that and using basically one of our high quality pumps on peakmalephysique.com to get people to actually put some investment up front. And then I will potentially offer them even coaching through my Patreon, patreon.com/DocHink if you need to reach me. I'm considering a part 2. I'm still hurt, guys. I'm not over it. I'm still thinking about it too much. So what does the data show too? So that same extender trial that I talked about at the beginning, which is one of the best pieces of data I've ever come across for PE. So they started with 54 guys, personally selected 54 guys. Of those 54 guys, only 44 completed it. So 10 guys dropped out. So there's always this attrition. These people are just going to drop out. So it's not realistic to assume that everybody, just because, yes, if you even just an hour a day for 6 months, could you gain a half an inch? Yeah, absolutely. But how many guys are actually going to do that? That's not realistic that most guys are going to do that. And so here's what I'm probably going to go full-blown hot take here, guys. So, for example, if you buy an ebook from a bodybuilder, from a Mr. Olympia, hi, I'm Phil Heath, here's how you can get 30-inch biceps, and they teach you play-by-play, that doesn't mean you're going to get 30-inch biceps if you buy a bicep guide from one of these big gainers. The same thing goes for PE. There are these guys on the community that make these allegations that they've gained 2 inches or more. And, you know, most of the guys are selling stuff, and there's not anything wrong with that. You know, I'm selling stuff too, and, you know, some of the guys I'm even affiliated with. But the problem is that if you go into this thinking you're going to gain 2 inches, you're going to be disappointed. And you're going to be one of these guys that, I tried PE, this doesn't work. I tried for 3 weeks and I got no gains and I gave up. So I know this doesn't work. That's the problem when you have these unrealistic expectations. I don't even know if I gave the backstory on this, but one of the guys on Reddit posted a comment. It's like, what's realistic? Or are my goals realistic? And oh, well, you know, BD gained over 2 inches. So let's just say BD gained over 2 inches. He's also one of the biggest people in the PE sphere. It's, well, Kobe Bryant once dropped 81 points. That doesn't mean it's realistic for other people to do that. If he did get those gains, that is him. That is him. He might be an anomaly. Think about this. Now, here's me being like, oh, look at me, I'm so great, patting myself on the back. But I made my post, my 3-year before and after post, where I demonstrate, you know, a little over an inch. So depending on how you want to measure, definitely, I'd say my non-bone pressed increased by about 1.2 inches, and my bone pressed increased by about 1.5 inches, more or less, somewhere around there, guys. That's over 3 years, and let's just say 1.2 inches, just for the sake of argument, because I don't think anybody's really going to argue with that. It is the top upvoted post of all time on it, especially in that time frame as far as PE, whether it be on Reddit with a Jelk for You or with Getting Bigger. But it's literally the top post ever. And because I actually documented, and pretty clearly, in my opinion, here's where I started and here's where I got to. And I said, like, here are the measurements. And I kept the receipts, is I believe the phrase that the cool kids are using nowadays, because I'm cool too.
I was part of a special task force of very young-looking cops who infiltrated high schools. How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
So guys, I feel I'm Greg Douchette here, being
I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
my best Greg Douchette impression. I know he has a very high voice, but it's I feel I'm making enemies because I'm, oh yeah, so you're 5 and you want to get to 7.5 inches? Probably not going to happen, dude. And it's the reason why I'm telling you that is because, once again, for me, I would have been absolutely fucking thrilled with 1/4 of an inch gains, okay? Over 6 months, 1/4 of an inch, I would have been out of my mind thrilled. But these guys are, well, if I can't get 1.5 inches, then it's just not worth it to me. Then in my opinion, you shouldn't be doing PE. You know, do you? I'm not trying to gatekeep or whatever, you know, the phrase is. But it's, you need to set these realistic goals. But in my opinion, in your first 6 months of doing PE, your goal should be 1/4 of an inch in length, and it should be about half that in girth. You know, say what you want. But that is what I think in the first 6 months. In a year, I think you should shoot for 1/2 inch in length and 1/4 of an inch in girth. Now, I'm sure there's going to be people in the comments, I gain much faster than that. Guys, there is literally 85,000 members on Getting Bigger, but yet there's literally 3 guys that I can think of that clearly kept the receipts and said, here's where I started, here's where I ended, here are actually measurements. If every guy was gaining 1 inch in a year, don't you think that there would be more credible evidence? It wouldn't just be a bunch of guys jamming rulers into their pelvis further, changing the angle with which they measure, measuring with enhancing devices, constriction rings. Don't you think that that would actually, just of the 80,000 plus members, really? I don't know why I get so heated about this, but you need to have realistic goals, set them low, and that way, once you reach those goals, yeah, I'm actually reaching my goals, and you stay motivated and you stay on track rather than making these big lofty goals that you don't reach, and then you get discouraged, and then you're, oh, PE doesn't work, and you're another guy in the comments, this stuff doesn't work. Anyways, guys, peace and love. Catch you on the next one.